Most residential roofing companies live in the land of insurance restoration. And when roofing companies typically move into commercial roofing, they gravitate towards what we call specified work. That could be either new construction work or just work that comes from general contractors where they're telling you what materials, what labor, what warranties to provide for the job. In both of those worlds, you're handed the projects on a silver platter. And what I mean by that is that you're given the drawings, you're given the measurements, you're given the scope of work, you're given the labor requirements, the material list, and sometimes even the warranty requirements to understand what you need to do on the job. And so everything on the job is literally predefined. You know exactly what you're getting into as a contractor. Where on one hand, that sounds awesome. It's like, why wouldn't we want to do the job where like all the thinking's already been done for us? But there's typically a catch. And so the catch is that when all of the creativity and the thinking of putting the job together has been removed, it removes all of the opportunity to provide value. And the only thing left to actually compete on is price. So you go from having an opportunity to, add value to the situation, to think outside of the box, to basically becoming, just another number in a stack of proposals on somebody's desk, and quite literally. But when you're working with property managers or building owners or boards or a board of an association or an HOA or a real estate trust, it's completely different. So that is your job, right? It becomes your responsibility to assess what is the situation, how can we bring the most value to the client or the prospect, and how can we put a scope together that makes the most sense for all parties involved. If you have the skills to actually inspect a roof and know what you're looking at, and to define the deficiencies that you find up on the roof, and to actually diagnose where that roof is at in its life cycle, and to take all of that information and put a scope of work together that's gonna keep more money in the prospect's pocket and still allow yourself to make money. And you can put all of that into a well-written proposal that actually tells the story of the situation, what they're dealing with, what they've dealt with in the past, what their desired outcome is. Then that literally separates you from more than 90% of roofers, because most people don't have that skill set. Most roofers don't have that skill set to be able to provide that type of value. And that's why it's lonely at the top in the privately negotiated commercial roofing world. Over the last 14 years, I've been doing commercial roofing, but over the last 6 or 7 months, I've been focused on building out an AI-backed software to streamline this entire process. But the crazy thing is like, no matter if you're gonna utilize a software or a tool like that, or if you're just gonna utilize a notepad and manila folders and a clipboard, the principles and the process of this entire thing never change. We have a sales process specifically for roofing companies called the ladder sales process. That's LADDER, ladder, right? Just like our logo. And the reality is like in the beginning, the first couple stages are what happens before the appointment. But at the appointment, we're doing the first D is discovery. We have the second D, which is the roof diagnosis or diagnosis of the roof. And then we have estimates and proposals, which is the E. And the transition going from discovery, where we're asking all of those questions about, who are the decision makers? What's the decision-making process? What have they dealt with or tried, in order to solve these issues in the past? What are they dealing with now? What's the pain behind that? What's the desired outcome? What are they doing with the building? All of those discovery type questions, and transitioning into the diagnosis of the roof. That's where one of two things can happen. Either as a roofer, you can totally lose the job because you're not doing the diagnostic the right way, or you can totally just crush it out of the park, separate yourself from the other 90% of roofers, and take that roof off the streets. So the linchpin of your entire sales process really comes down to these two stages: diagnostic or diagnosing the roof system, and then also the estimating and proposal. And lucky for you, I have a framework for how we not only think through each one of those, but how we actually navigate it. So first, we'll talk about diagnosing the roof and the 3 pieces of the diagnosis. And then we'll actually step into the estimating and putting proposals together so you can understand how I think about that and how we put those together. Diagnosing the roof has 3 main parts. Let me show you what this actually looks like. So when we're diagnosing the roof, The first thing we're actually going to do is assess the actual roof, and then we're going to apply a grade to it, right? And most roofs obviously aren't an A+. But there's 3 little minute sections to this, because the first thing is, like, yeah, we have to do the inspection. But from that inspection, what we're trying to do is understand on the life cycle of the roof, is that roof an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F, right? Where an A roof is gonna be brand new at the beginning of its life cycle, and an F is gonna stand for exactly what you think it does. And so we'll inspect, we will apply a grade to it, and then the last thing we need to do is we actually need to come down, make a decision on, is this going to be a service project, or is this going to be a larger commercial roofing project? And the difference between a service project and a commercial roofing project in my world is that when we do the inspection or the conditions report and we apply a grade to the roof, well, if that grade comes back to be an A, a B, or a C, well, that tells me that, like, hey, the roof's in a maintainable condition. We're probably just gonna do some repairs to take care of any deferred maintenance. But if that roof is a D or an F or in the later stages of the actual life cycle, then we're gonna push that to probably be a larger commercial project, which could come in many shapes and sizes, right? It could be a layover, it could be a roof coatings if you do those kind of things. It could be a partial replacement, or it could be a replacement altogether. And so the total outcome that we're looking for is really just, do we have the ammunition to be able to go to that building owner or to whoever the prospect is, the decision maker or the influencer of the decision maker, and are we able to have the ammunition to be able to have that conversation? The second piece of diagnosing the roof is really just, do we have a direction that we're gonna move towards, whether it's service or commercial work, and are we in alignment with whoever the decision maker is? Like, do they agree with the way we're gonna proceed forward before we spend a bunch of time up on the roof, you know, putting together a takeoff and taking measurements, taking photos, gathering all kinds of information that they might not even be in agreement with or have a budget for or anything like that. So the next piece is, like I said, do we have a direction that we're running in? This kind of comes back here to the service or commercial. And then, like I said, are we in alignment? And just to elaborate on this a little bit further, I'll explain how I did this in the real world just last week. So we hopped up on the roof after we did our discovery. We had already had a conversation with the on-site facilities manager, and we were in agreement. He knew what our process was. It's like, hey, first we just need to figure out where's this roof at in the actual life cycle. From there, when we figured out where the roof was, it was a D, we hopped down and we said, hey, we have a couple options here. Number one, the roof is a D. We also think that we could move it to probably be a C with some repairs and you know, a hefty load of service work. This is just a 5-minute conversation, or it was just a 5-minute conversation in that situation, but no more than a 5, 10, 15-minute conversation of really explaining the life cycle of a roof to them. And this is where we're educating our clients, because we can't make people, you know, we can't make people make a decision, but we can educate them so that they can make the decision that's a best fit for them, a best fit for the financial situation, a best fit for the building, and a best fit for us as the contractor, the service provider. All right, so in diagnosing the roof, at this point, we've already done our initial inspection. We figured out, you know, what is the grade of the roof? We decided, are we doing service, or is this a larger commercial opportunity? From there, we went down and we had the conversation with whoever our point of contact is, and we said, hey, this is the direction that we're thinking. Are we in alignment on that? And if yes, we need to build a takeoff and scope. Number one, we have to capture all of the deficiencies, like what are the issues that we're finding on the roof now? And we've got to be able to figure out what are the remedies to be able to fix those deficiencies to get this roof back up to a maintainable condition. And once we do the repairs, we take care of the deficiencies, and we have the roof in a maintainable condition, We also need to know, what are we gonna charge these people, or how are we gonna charge these people to come out here on an annual basis or a biannual basis and continue to do the ongoing maintenance, the, what I would consider like the oil changes, the tire rotations, the swapping of the wiper blades for this roof system itself. And so the way I think through this is, number one, on the service side for repairs, you should have some sort of a database where you productize like, hey, this type of repair, we know it needs this type of, or we know it needs this set of materials. We know it's gonna take our guys this, however long to do it. And to where your on-site service techs or your on-site reps can just literally select it from a drop-down menu. And I'll show you guys an example of what that looks like here in a minute. But alternatively, to the other side of service, you also have to understand, how long is it gonna take my guys to come out and walk this roof, to walk it, caulk it, do any minor maintenance and minor repairs that you're agreeing to in your service agreement. And a lot of times it's the easiest way to capture that is just to figure out, like, is it gonna take them a half day or a full day? And then you can work with your company, or if you're the owner of the business, you can figure out, what does it cost us to have 2 guys in a truck on site with some minimal materials. As for the larger commercial projects, when we're talking about the takeoff and the scope, it's really ensuring that we capture all of the information. The takeoff and the scope for the commercial side versus the service side typically takes 3 to 4 times as long, because we're trying to make sure that we don't have to come back because we missed information to do another site walk. We want to make sure that whether it's ourselves that are going to go back to the office and put these estimates together, or we're passing it off to an actual estimating department, that we're gathering all of the proper data, that we're gathering all of the information, we're capturing all of the photos, so that they can look at this project just like they were on site, and again, not need another site visit or to send you back out to go, play retriever for some of the information that you might have missed on the front end. Once we've graded the roof, we've aligned with the prospect, we've done our takeoff and put our scope together, it's time to move into actually putting the estimates and the proposals together, which also happens to be a 2-part process. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, so in this 2-step process, we basically have step 1, which is going to be job costing. And if this is a new term for you, it essentially means that we're not going to utilize any sort of, per square foot pricing or by the square pricing. We're not gonna lean on somebody else's database or a local database like, a lot of guys in the residential world do, or people that are new to commercial using crazy softwares like Xactimate or something like that. We are literally going to job cost by knowing all of our material pricing, all of our labor pricing, all of our additional pricing that's going to be involved in putting our costs together, to know down to the last screw, what is it going to cost us to produce this job, with pre-job safety setup, with porta potties, with equipment rental, all of those things included into it. So you can tell job costing, it is a real skill that has to be developed, or we need to make sure we know what we're doing, because just like there's a lot of money to be made in commercial roofing, there's also a lot of risk associated, and a lot of it comes here in job costing if we're not doing that the correct way. The second piece here is where the real magic happens. So this is actually the proposal piece. And actually, if I could, I would actually replace the word proposal with storytelling. Here's what I mean by that. So when we're putting a proposal together in a traditional sense, what 90% of roofing companies do is they go into their estimating software, they go into their database, and they throw a bunch of line items together and they tally up a price at the very end. When they get to the end, they submit that proposal to, via email or to whoever it is that they're supposed to send it to, and then it's crickets. Well, we want to separate ourselves in this storytelling, because we're gonna look back on all of the questions we asked on the front end, where we're in discovery, figuring out what have they dealt with in the past, what are they dealing with now, the whole decision-making process, everything that I talked about, a couple minutes ago here in this video. We're gonna incorporate that so that they know, that they feel heard, understood, acknowledged, like we listened to them through the entire process. But then it's also gonna show what we found and the direction that we wanna push them in. Then we can show the estimate and the proposal, or the proposal price. If you can master those 4 main steps, then number 1, you'll shorten your life cycle of the sales cycle in general, but then you'll also eliminate the entire idea of competing on price, because I can assure you, like I said 90%, but it's probably like 99% of roofing companies actually are not doing anything to this degree. So you're gonna separate yourself in that form and fashion, and you'll instantly stand out as the professional, as the advisor, as the asset, rather than just another commoditized roofer offering like free inspections. Like I said earlier, I'm building Roof Genius, the software and the AI that's going to streamline this entire process, make it quicker, make it, you know, to where even a new sales rep can do this, you know, without much training. And the software will do the heavy lifting, but you don't need anything fancy. You don't need a software. You don't need the Roof Genius to do this today. Like I said, it works just the exact same if you're using paper and notebooks and a clipboard and manila folders, right? The principles don't actually change. And if this video was helpful, just go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you have any questions whatsoever, I love talking about this, if you guys can't tell. So just leave a comment below and I'll make sure I get back to you guys just as soon as possible. I'll see you guys in the next video.